Hey guys, what's up? Nicky once again, and in this video today, we're going to be going over my guide to speedrunning Twisted Metal 3. I speedrun using an emulated version of the game through an emulator called DuckStation on my PC. However, this guide should also work for anybody who wants to just play the game on regular hardware and also speedrun it through there. So don't feel discouraged if all you have is a PlayStation 1 or a PS2 or whatever system you have, and that's what you're going to be playing from, because these tips and tricks and everything from this guide should work just fine for the speedrun. That being said, I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of how to set up your timer or anything specific like that. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube of how to set up Live Split, which is the timing program that I currently use. But I will go over a little bit of the settings I have of my specific emulator, and just so if you are emulating it through DuckStation, you can copy my settings so you know for a fact your runs will not be discarded. So the first rule of any speedrun, in my opinion, is to always show what settings you are currently running if you're emulating. Obviously, disregard this step if you are running on hardware, because there's no way to really edit it to your liking unless you have cheat codes for whatever reason. So this is pretty straightforward when it comes to the emulation settings. I basically have most of my settings set to the default. The only things that I did end up changing is under the console section of the DuckStation settings. You can head down to the CD-ROM emulation section, and there's an async section. You want to make sure it's set to 8 sectors, and under the speed up section, you want it set to 2 times, in quotations, quad speed. Essentially, that will be the same read speed as a PlayStation 2 system, because it has been confirmed that the PlayStation 2 hardware does load a little bit faster than the original PlayStation 1. And this will leave you at not as much of a disadvantage. Other than that, just make sure you are not overclocking in any way, shape, or form through the emulator, and you can also upscale your game to look a little bit better for more modern day monitors. And then I also have everything set to 16:9 aspect ratio, and I included some extra geometry correction settings, which basically just make my game look a little bit more upscaled and better looking. But I promise it does not change the performance of the game, but this all depends on your PC. So I'd highly recommend, if you are going to add any of these enhancements, to make sure you do a run successfully first to make sure there's no slowdown or any lag or anything that could potentially ruin a world record run. So once you've gotten all your settings ready to go, let's just watch through my thumper run. This is my personal best time of 14 minutes, 18 seconds, and 31 milliseconds. It is not the current world record, but I am still very proud of this run, and this is a good example of what you're going to be doing in terms of the strats for each level. When starting out, the number one thing you might notice is that my background is a moving demo of the current game. All that is in the settings of Twisted Metal 3, you can turn on the in-game menu. You want to have that enabled because it actually will make the very first level of the tournament load a little bit quicker. It's a known strategy, and no, it does not make your runs invalid. It just ends up helping you in the long run. Also, on a side note, if you want to know which characters are the best for speedrunning TM3, I made an entirely different video, which is going through a tier list of all the characters in this game. I'll have a link to that in the description below if you haven't seen it yet. So first things first, coming into Hollywood, you're going to be met with 2 different opponents. My main strat for Hollywood is as soon as you spawn, no matter where you are, rush to this underpass area and grab the mortars and the napalms. Those are the 2 strongest weapons in the game by far. You just kind of run right up to the character and just unload on them with some freezes, napalms, and mortars. You should get enough from these 2 pickups alone to kill both characters, again, as long as you're not going against 2 very armored characters. And that should be a pretty quick and easy way to get Hollywood out of the way, and it's by far the easiest map in the entire run. Moving on to Washington, D.C., this one's a pretty straightforward level. There's really no big strats to it other than just make sure to grab as many weapons as possible before you start engaging in the fights, because you want to have as much weapons on you so that you can get through everybody as quick as possible. I've run into too many situations in TM3 where I'll start a fight and somebody will get down to 10% health, but I don't have any weapons left, and they run and get a heal while I'm running and getting ammo. So the best way to counteract that, of course, is just to keep running around, grab ammo first, and then go in for the fight and for the kill. As long as you're pretty decently lucky with the RNG of who you go against, you really shouldn't have much of an issue of running out of ammo on this level, because there's a lot of pickups right off the rip, and before you know it, you should be able to reach the dark side fight within just a couple minutes. Once Darkside spawns, the best thing I like to do is go up into the Washington Monument and grab as many weapons on top there, including the health and the turbo before he comes over to you. Thankfully, he always spawns on the opposite side of the map, so you don't have to worry about him taking those immediately, and you always have a couple seconds before he teleports to you. Then I like to run down to the section on the right side of it, get him stuck in that corner, and just unload everything I got, and he should be a pretty simple fight. Moving on to Hangar 18, the biggest and best tip I can give you is use this launch pad. What you want to do is full turbo right into it at an angle and jump right at the height of the ramp. You should bump into the wall and that'll launch you up into the teleporter. If you're not spawned in the right area, I recommend running around the map until you're at the correct launch point to jump right into the teleporter. That will be the fastest way to reach that ultimate lightning inside the UFO. And yes, it will kill everybody immediately. Sometimes the RNG is a little bit of a bitch, I'm not gonna lie, and they're not gonna always die in one hit. I got extremely lucky in this run, and it will just come down to luck most of the time. If you end up not getting everybody in one kill, don't worry about it. You can always jump down and take them out manually, but there's gonna be a lot of runs where if you jump down and you can't kill them right away, like because you don't have enough ammo or whatever the case may be, sometimes it's better just to restart right there. And that's why Hangar 18 is one of the biggest levels that restart every single one of my runs. Moving on to the North Pole, the only strat that I can really give for this map is just try to get to the middle and grab that lightning as fast as possible. I always recommend as well to destroy the building with the full heal in it because the enemies seem to always run for it even if the building's not destroyed because they somehow know it's in there. So as long as you can make sure that that heal is gone and no one's going to get a full heal without your attention, you should be good to go. The rest is just RNG based on who spawns, and just kind of run around the map and grab as many weapons as you can like in DC and just unload on everybody. With time, you will learn the spawn patterns of the heals and where everybody starts to run to go for heals, so you can kind of monitor the AI so they don't run and get life as you're trying to attack one or the other. One of the biggest things too is to always fight 1v1s. I don't recommend going after each person and lowering their health and running to another person and yada yada yada. You're gonna get confused and you're gonna leave it open to the AI going to grab heals when you least need it. So yeah, always go one after the other, kill one guy and move to the next. Now we've made it to London, aka Onion Land. Essentially, you're going to be fighting the mid-boss on this map, and he is kind of tough for most new players, especially new speedrunners. The realest amount of strategy I can give you to this level is literally just keep moving. If you stop for even a second to take in the sights, you will probably get ganked and destroyed immediately. It's very frustrating, and you don't want to lose your ammo. So just keep running around the map, grab as much ammo as you can, and then start to go into the fight. And once again, make sure to fight only one person at a time. There's going to be a lot of sections or situations on this level where you're going to have to fight multiple people at once, but you're still going to have to find a way to only target one at a time. Because if you start switching targets before one is dead, you're just going to run into situations where they're going to get away, you're going to get frozen, and they're going to get a heal. I usually do end up losing one life or two on this map, and it's not the end of the run. If you die in a speedrun of TM3, trust me, it's not the end of the world. Once you've learned the ins and outs of every level of this game and you've done a lot of playthroughs without issues, it's a pretty simple game to get through without losing all your lives. And there's a lot of cheese tactics once we get later into the run that you'll see where you don't really have to worry about losing any lives after London. So the rest of this level, as you can see, is pretty straightforward. I'm just kind of going through each character one by one, taking them out as I'm grabbing weapons in between each fight, because I can't drive home this point enough that the worst outcome for a fight in any of the levels is getting someone down to 10% health, running out of ammo, and not being able to catch them before they run for a heal. It happens way more times than I would like to admit, and I like to call that a fire starter moment. Because that little bastard is always the one last alive, and he always seems to run and get a health right when he needs it the most, which always ruins my runs. And now onto the onion fight. The best advice I can give you for this one, once again, is make sure you're stacked up with mortars and napalms. Wait for him around a corner because he'll never see you coming, freeze him, run up to him, and just start unloading on him. Sometimes you'll be able to flip him over as well, and that is the key to success. If you can get him upside down, he usually doesn't shoot or do anything, and you can just unload on him and freeze him until he is dead. Because he is a bullet sponge, but thankfully with those mortars and those napalms, he's a pretty simple fight. Now onto the rooftops of Tokyo. This is one of my favorite levels in the game, and it's also one of my favorite on the speedrun because it's pretty simple. The main thing you want to do is make sure to get to the top as fast as possible, go across the jump, and grab the pickup for the satellite dish. Now, there are very rare times where the AI can accidentally take it from you, and that's why you want to get up there as fast as possible. Once you have the dish, just make sure you stick around the middle area until all the AI is there, and usually you can get a double, if not a triple hit with one satellite, and that is where you're going to get most of your damage and get through this level fast as hell. Now, once you've taken out all the regular people, you're going to get the regeneration, which is always fun. I like to run down here to the main fan area, wait for a character to get on top of the fan, and destroy it. There is one thing that I did not do in this run that I normally do, is I wait in the middle of the map towards the satellite dish, wait for them to spawn, and then I run down to the fan, because that makes it so no one will spawn on the fan and make it very annoying to get them in there. And if you're quick enough or lucky enough, you can thankfully push both enemies in to get a quick final section to Tokyo. And moving on to Egypt. This is the level that ruins pretty much everybody's runs, including mine. Absolutely hate this level, but there is a strat to it, I promise. The first thing you want to do is go and open up the pyramid. Run through the bottom, go through the teleporter, and grab the eye pickup. What I normally do as well is I back up and grab the heal behind the pyramid because that's the #1 heal the AI runs to immediately. Next, you want to sit in the main hallway here and wait for the AI to bunch up. Usually all 3 of them will come at you at once, and if you're lucky enough, you can get a triple hit and do a massive amount of damage. But this of course takes practice and time and a lot of luck. Sometimes you only get 1 kill with the eye, and sometimes you'll get a triple kill. It just really depends on how lucky you are and, again, how skillful you are. If you're unlucky like I was in this run, you're just going to have to kind of run around and follow the AI and kill them one by one. The main downside to this strat is, of course, you don't have much ammo. So if you don't end up killing a lot of people with the eye right away, you're kind of shit out of luck and just open to the elements and hoping that the AI doesn't run for heals and you can get good kills. Thankfully, I got extremely lucky in this run, but for most of the times, I probably would have restarted right here. Once you've killed that first wave of enemies, 3 more will spawn. And in this section, you want to go and open up this wall that brings you down to a teleporter into the safe room, I like to call it. But the #1 thing you want to do is make sure not to jump into the teleporter right away. This sometimes confuses the AI to not follow you, so what I like to do is sit right at the tip of the base of where you fall into the teleporter, and the AI usually finds its way to you. Sometimes they'll be a bitch and push you in by accident, but for the most part, this is the best strategy about it, and that's the best way I've figured out how to get all the AI to follow you into the teleporter so you can get them all with the lightning. As you can see here, we're kind of just running in circles waiting for the final guy to teleport, which he finally did. We're going to run out into the hallway and shoot the lightning and hopefully get as much damage as possible on these guys. And then just kind of unload on them with whatever you have left in your inventory. This, again, kind of leads up to being lucky if you can get as many kills as you can with the lightning itself, so that you don't have to run and go for a ton of ammo before the fight. I did get unlucky once again here with dying down there. It's kind of rare for that to happen, but it does. So you'll notice in this run here, it's not my stereotypical run. Since I was so far ahead from my first few levels, I decided to stick with it. And it's kind of crazy to think that this could have been a world record run if Egypt didn't screw me over twice. Once you get past Egypt, we're on to the final level of the tournament. We're in the home stretch. Now, there is a glitch in this game, thankfully, that if you run full speed at the final switch or panel, whatever you want to call it, you can actually run into it and shoot a power missile or a special weapon right at the last second, and it can destroy it first try. This is obviously a huge time save, and it doesn't require you to run around the entire map destroying all the separate panels. This does not work for every character, however. I do not have a list off the top of my head of which characters it does not work with, but for the most part, 90% of them will work, and it just takes a lot of practice and skill on the timing of when to shoot into that final panel. But of course, once you destroy that final panel, you can now destroy all the enemies without any of them respawning. So basically just go to town. I like to go down here on the bottom side of the blimp because there's a ton of ammo you can grab from all these different pillars that you can destroy, and I like to get the napalms right away because that's the fastest way to kill people with a lot of damage. I got really lucky with the RNG here with a lot of weak armored vehicles. Of course, this is going to straight up just be up to the RNG gods on who you go against. Sometimes you're going to get very heavily armored vehicles, sometimes you'll be lucky and get lowered armored. It really just depends. Then we fight Primeval. My ultimate strat for this is to sit on the left side of the hole at the bottom side of the blimp And make sure before you get here that you have at least one remote bomb ready to go. We're going to wait for Primeval to bring himself over to the left side of the hole because his AI is programmed to always set the same determined path. Freeze him about halfway up into the hole, and then run up real quick next to him, drop a mine, blow it up, and he should fall into the hole. This, of course, takes a lot of practice. I'm not going to say this is easy or you're going to get it first try. What I would recommend is going into a challenge match or a death match. Go against one enemy and keep attempting this until you can get it right for them to fly in. If you're going against one AI, thankfully they do follow the same set path as Primeval does, so it's a really good way to practice. Otherwise, of course, just try it out, go through a run speedrunning it, and just try the same strat, and you should get it down after a couple tries, no problem. So that essentially is my guide to Twisted Metal 3 speedrunning. Like I stated, there's not a whole lot of strats throughout this entire run other than the last few levels. For the most part, it just comes down to skill and learning the maps and where everything is located and where the heals spawn. Once you've learned the heals and where they spawn and what times they come back, that is a major benefit to getting speedruns correctly and faster, because you can stop the AI from stealing those heals and losing precious time throughout every single run. Thank you so much for watching my guide to speedrunning TM3. If there's anything that I missed in this tutorial, or if there's anything you have a specific question about, I will try to get back to you as soon as possible, but make sure to leave your question in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, share your support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.